Okay, welcome to 7.3, Analyzing a Budget. So people often find that once they create a budget, either they cannot stay on it or their situation changes and they need to make adjustments. So one useful tool for analyzing budgets is a circle graph because it shows which categories make up the biggest expenses. So I taught the circle graph earlier this year, and we're going to review more of that in the context of budgets. So example 1, you can read on your own if you'd like. We are going to be moving towards build your skills number 1, and we'll likely be just working with percentages until we get to the circle graph. For the circle graphs, you will need a protractor, and they are provided. So this person here, Suk, works full-time but is saving up for a part-time college course. He estimates that he will need $6,000 in savings to cover extra expenses while he studies. He budgets to save 15% of his salary each month. If he earns $28.65 per month, how many months will it take in order to save enough money? So at this point you should be quite familiar with percentage of. So quickly, 0.15 times 28.65. $429.75 is the 15% of his salary that he can save each month. How many months in order to save the $6,000 that he needs? 6,000 divided by 429.75. Okay, the calculator is saying 13.96, so it'll take the 14th month in order to save the total 6,000 that he needs. The course starts 12 months from now. What percentage of his salary will Suk have to save per month in order to be able to afford the course? So just like we did in part A, where we divided by the dollar amount to solve for the months, we'll do something similar here in B. So rather than divide by the dollar amount, like we did in part A, what we can do is just divide by the months. So if we know that we need $6,000 in 12 months, then when you divide 6,000 by 12, it's obvious that you would need $500 per month in order to make the goal. So the question is, what percentage? And percentages are always solved for with the part to whole ratio times 100. So for this question, the part would be the 500 a month savings divided by the income. The whole is always the income because that's the total money coming in. So 500 dividing 28.65, then of course times by 100, and the calculator is saying 17.45. So roughly 17 or 18%. This is the multiple choice style questions that you're most likely going to see on the exam. Number 2, Juliet monthly entertainment expenses are $275 and account for 12% of her income. She would like to reduce her entertainment spending to 8% of her income. Calculate her new monthly entertainment budget. So this is a question that you need to interpret using proportion and percentage. So currently it says that $275 accounts for her entertainment expense, which is 12% of her income. 12% is 12 out of 100. That's exactly what percent means. Divide 100. So we know that 12 out of every $100 goes to entertainment. So this is equivalent to $275 out of a total or a whole. So that's going to be her monthly income. So when you cross multiply 275 times 100 dividing 12, and you get a total of $2,291.67. So that is your answer for part B. This total here is your answer for part B. To calculate her new monthly budget, you just need to change the percent. Instead of it being 8%, we want it, or pardon me, instead of it being 12%, we want it to be 8%. So now it's 8 out of 100. We know the total is 2291, and we can solve for the part, which is the entertainment category, which you can call X if you'd like. Cross multiplying 2291, 67 cents times 8 dividing 100. This part would be $183.33. Okay, so her entertainment budget was $275. Now it's $183.33. You can see a 4% decrease in her budget. This wouldn't be the only way to solve for this problem, but here I've provided one way. Example 2, of course, you can always read on your own time. It looks like they're just calculating percentages, part divided by whole ratios for all the different categories. You can see all these categories. Part divided by whole equals a decimal. Take your decimal times 100. You will get percents. They take those decimals, multiply by 360, and you can arrive at degrees, and these degrees represent how much each category is going to be worth in the circle graph. So we'll take care of that here in number 3. So Petra has created the following monthly budget. You can see income on the left, expense on the right. They've totaled everything for you, so that is nice. It says Petra's budget has deficit, so I'll highlight that there for you. So it says suggest how she can adjust her spending to create a balanced budget. So we've talked about this in previous lessons. Basically analyze the needs and the wants, the fixed, the variable expense, and see what you can adjust. Food's always the big one. You can always adjust your amounts you spend on food. This is like not going to eat out at restaurants. Entertainment as well. Clothing. Because things like charity, savings, you don't really want to adjust that. You know, you're dedicated to like the savings you want to keep. The charity is probably important to you, so you don't want to adjust that. The miscellaneous, you know, $100, like a rainy day fund, just in case, you know, you get a flat tire or something. Transportation's fixed. Maybe it's a bus pass. The utilities and the rent is fixed. Those things cannot change. You've already locked into them. So you can adjust food, entertainment, and clothing. So I'd say probably $50 we could take off from food. Maybe one less trip to the keg. One less trip to, I don't know, Denny's or something. So we could also save money on entertainment, maybe $25 there, one less movie you go to in the month. And then the clothing, you know, maybe we could save $25 there for clothing, because all I need to do is save $100. Why? Because my total income is 1400 and my total expense is 1500. So when you go income subtract expense, 1400 take away 1500, you get negative 100. Negative 100 would mean you're in deficit. So I need to find $100 in my budget that I can change. So I found it in the food, the entertainment, and the clothing. And my reasoning is I could probably make those adjustments in my life. Stop going to restaurants. Maybe you don't need that extra pair of sandals or whatever it is, and one less movie. So it's basically the wants. Pick a want that you can live with or live without. Then it says construct a circle graph that shows Petra's new budget. It doesn't really matter. We'll do that on the next example. Let's just keep moving. And I think we'll take care of a circle graph later on here. Okay, let's take a look at 4. Sammy earns about $1,500 per month and has the following expenses. He has found the following spending guidelines for people living in his area. How does his spending compare to the guidelines, and in what categories does he need to adjust his spending? So for all these, all you would need to do is take each part. So I'll just put this like this. These are the parts, or you can call them categories if you will. And we need to check each part to whole ratio. Okay, so for example, for housing, you would go $400 divided by the total income, which is $1,500. Total income's up here. So for this question, 400 divided by 1,500 is 0.26. Rounding that with percent, 27%. Okay, after timing by 100, of course. So the 27% you can see falls within the guideline. Okay, they're recommending that you only spend about 25 to 35% of your income on a house, for example your rent or whatever, and you can see that this person is meeting that requirement. So let's take a look at maybe the food. The food is $225. Take that out of 1,500 times by 100 to get the percent. So 225 dividing 1,500 and times 100 is 15%. So the food, right in the guideline, it's okay. The transportation is probably one that's outside of the range, because 350 dividing 1,500. 350 dividing 1,500 is 0.23. Times that by 100. 23% for transportation. Transportation says it's only supposed to be 10 to 15%, so this guy is over in terms of that guideline. So he would obviously he should probably spend less on transportation. But you never know what circumstances happen in life. Maybe this guy got in a car accident and his insurance premiums have gone up. So he's in that position, no matter what he does. So I think we get this question. Let's move on. If Sammy does not make any changes to his spending, how much money will he save in 1 year? Okay, so let's take a look at this. Savings were $50. And that's per month. Well, $50 per month. This is obvious. Times 12 months in a year. $600 in the year. Then it says make a new budget for Sammy that falls within the spending guidelines and construct a circle graph that shows this new budget. Too much work. We're not doing that. Okay, let's take a look at number 5. and this is where I will show the circle graph stuff as review. Okay, so Willa earns 3532 a month and has been given the following budget guidelines. Willa's housing costs are given, the utilities is given. Willa wants to save 15% of her money and pay off her loans as fast as possible. Construct a conservative budget for Willa. Alright, so income is 3532. Make like a T-chart. Expenses on the right. Okay, so H for housing is $1,250. U for utilities, $235. And Willa wants to save 15% of her money and pay off her loans as fast as possible. So her debt repayment, so it's capital D for debt, is going to be 15%, so 0.15 times her income, 3532. 0.15 times 3532 is $529.80. So let's just round that up to 530. All right. And we are constructing a conservative budget. We remember that conservative is low estimates. Okay. So you don't want to be risky. It's the opposite of risky. That's what conservative is. So for all these percentages that they're giving us, we've already took care of housing and utilities and debt. So for the rest of these, transportation, so savings, this doesn't really make sense to me because she wants to put her savings onto debt repayment. Anyways, let's just motor along here. Food, recreation, and health and personal care. What we're going to do is we're going to take the low part of the estimate, or of the percentage, the low part. Okay. Okay, so we are on transportation. Transportation, 8 to 12%. So let's do the low part. 8% of 3532. 0.08 times 3532. $282.56. Okay, so in fact I'll just round those cents off. 200, and in fact we'll keep it nice numbers. 282, let's just make it 280. Okay, transportation's been taken care of. Okay, savings. So she's repaying her debt and saving. So this is a very smart person. Savings was 10%. 10% of 3532. 10% is easy. Move the decimal once, so 353.20. I'll round down some more just to make it more conservative, so we'll call that one 350 even instead of 353. There's savings. Food is 12%. Okay, 12% of 3532, so 0.12 times 3532, 423.84. So rounding down from 423 for food, we'll call it 420. A nice number for food. And now on to recreation. Running out of room here. Recreation, 6%. 3532. 0.06 times 3532, 211, 92. So let's just round that down to 210. And now health and personal care, call that HP, 8%, 3532. So 0.08 times 3532, 282.56. Let's round off to 280. All right. Let's total her expenses. And hopefully this is less than her income. 1250 plus 235 plus 530 plus 280 plus 350 plus 420 plus 210 plus 280, 3555. Okay, so she's in deficit if she goes with this, 3555. So just subtract off her income, 3532. Sorry. The income goes first, 3532. This is her income. This is her expenses. When you subtract income from expense, you get your outlook, which is negative $23. So this is deficit. So we need to find a place to chop off about $23. So I'm thinking recreation would be the place for that. So maybe she doesn't buy that gym pass or whatever it is. Or even food would be a good place maybe. Yeah, so let's change food to 400. Then now we're down to only owing $3. So let's change recreation to 207. Now we're no longer in deficit, we're balanced. We have a balanced but conservative budget. Now I can make my circle graph. So with circle graphs, what you need is a protractor. You need all the part to whole ratios. So protractor, part to whole ratios. And these need to be in decimal form. And then you are going to multiply.
Pete, can you come down to the office, please? Pete, can you come down to the office, please?
You're going to multiply these decimals by 360 degrees to get each part. Alright, so for healthcare, or pardon me, housing, 1250 divided 3532, 0.3539. I'm just going to take 4 decimals for accuracy, times 360 degrees, 127 degrees. U was utilities, 235 divided by 3532, 0.0665. They're always going to be times 360. I don't want to write it all the time, so I'll just draw this arrow. 0.665 times 360 is, rounding up, 24 degrees. Okay. D was for the debt, 530 divided 3532, 0.1501, times that by 360, 54 degrees. T, transportation, 280 divided by 3532, 0.0793, times that by 360, rounding up, 29 degrees. S, I think, was savings. 350 divided by 3532. 0.0991 times that by 360 and rounding up 36 degrees. Food was 400 divided by 3532. 0.1133 after rounding times 360. 41 degrees after rounding. Now recreation was 207 divided by 3532. 0.0586 times that by 360. 21 degrees. And the last one, health and personal care, HP, 280 bucks divided by 3532. 0.0793 times that by 360. 29 degrees. Alright, so now that you have all these degrees, what you need to do is total them up, make sure it adds up to 360. 127 plus 24 plus 54 plus 29 plus 36 plus 41 plus 21 plus 29. So because of rounding, I ended up with 361 degrees. So we're going to be off by a degree on one of these sectors. And ultimately, it's really not going to matter the 1 degree, because when we draw our lines with the protractor, there's going to be some error involved as well. So now I will start the process with the circle graph. What you need to do is find the center of a circle, which is easier said than done, but let's just estimate that that's the circle, or the center of the circle. You need to draw in a radius. So from the center to the edge, draw in your radius. At this point, you're going to need a protractor. So let's get this protractor going. Protractor needs to go across the crosshair right here on the protractor. It needs to go on the dot in the center, the line on 0. Okay, the first sector is 127 degrees. So finding 127 is not easy. 120, especially with all this writing on the page, I'm thinking it's right there. So I put a dot there. It's probably hard to see, but I'm just going to draw with my straight ruler edge thing to the dot. There's the dot that I dropped right on 127. So back it up, and there's 127 degree angle. Get that protractor out of the way, and I'll just label this sector, call this H for housing. And if you want, you can put in the 127 degrees. That's optional. So I'm just going to take that out. Now to get the next sector, which is 24 degrees for utilities, what you need to do is rotate your protractor, and you start on the new line that was just drawn. So get the 0 on the protractor. Easier said than done on this computer. Okay, so I'm getting the 0 right on the new line. Now I need to draw in 24 degrees from that new line. So starting at 0 to 24 degrees, probably about right there. Then you take out your ruler and draw a straight edge to that point. And this 24 degrees would stand for utilities. And then you continue on in this process. The next one would be debt repayment. That's going to be on the next line. So get the crosshair right on the dot. Rotate until 0 is on your new line that you just drew. Okay. Debt repayment was 54 degrees. So count 54 degrees, somewhere between 50 and 60, probably like right there. Take out my line tool and connect to 54 degrees. Get this stuff out of the way, and this will be capital D for debt repayment. And you're starting with your circle graph. The other thing that you can do, you can add color to make it beautiful. Color is good for the eyes. You can see the differences. And what the circle graph allows you to do is visually display where your money is going, and you can obviously see that this huge sector is for the housing expense, which makes sense. And yeah, you can continue on with this process until your circle graph is filled out, continually drawing the next sector on the latest line that you've drawn. Okay, so that's it for the lesson. You have practiced your skills 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's a couple circle graphs in there. Now, the last section is the chapter test. So this will be for Tuesday's class. Okay, so spend Monday on this lesson here, 4.3. Do the practice your skills, and the chapter test will be for the Tuesday. Okay, thanks for watching, and enjoy all your homework.